Hello guys, hope you are doing well. Today I am guiding you to deploy a MERN stack application in a virtual machine. This is actually a supportive video for my Medium article that will be published very soon. The link will be on the description once it's published. So let's get started. First of all, we will see some basic concepts of deploying the application. So basically this is how my development environment looks like. My React development server is running on localhost port 3000 and Node Express server is running on localhost port 3001, and I have a MongoDB connection as well. Now once we go to deploy our application, it's going to operate a little bit different, as there will be a couple of new additions. We are going to deploy the application on an Ubuntu server, and one of the major things that we are going to use is Nginx. According to the official documentation, Nginx is very powerful, feature-rich web server. Basically, it's a web server software that serves as a reverse proxy, email proxy, and a load balancer. This allows us to deploy the application pretty easily. You can read more about Nginx from my Medium article as well. As you have seen previously, in the development environment, our front-end and back-end is operating on two different ports, as React is running on a development server. But when it comes to production, we omit that development server and create an optimized production build that will be served by using Nginx. So let's head on to our application. I created a sample Node application that can do some CRUD operations. We can view nodes, add nodes, and delete node as well. All this source code can be seen in my GitHub repo. I will put it into the description. So let's see our folder structure. I named the React app as the client and Node Express app as the server. Hope you are familiar with the codings and architecture. Let's start the procedure to deploy the application. On the React side, there is only one minor change that you need to do. That's to change the base URL endpoint. I have the separate API file to handle the API requests. It's inside source directory. Here you have to change this base URL to /API, as after deployment the React app can directly access the API endpoints with the absolute path. Then the backend side, there are some of the best practices you need to follow when deploying the application. I have explained this in detailed manner on my article. Here I'll describe those things briefly. You have to implement a logger to log these messages properly. Also, you have to remove the CORS headers, as we don't need them anymore. We can remove the CORS. For improving security, you can use the Helmet package. I will install it right now. You can simply install that with yarn or npm. I'll install with yarn, add helmet. Then you need to use it as a middleware. I'll import that. Likewise, you can use the helmet package. Furthermore, you need to turn the Node.js into production mode. You can create an environmental file to do that. Create a .env file in the server folder and add this line there. Alright, then we need to create the optimized production build for our front end. This will minimize the JS bundle. Type yarn. Let's navigate first into client. Then we can type yarn run build to create the optimized production build. Okay, now let's create a virtual machine to do the rest of the things. Here I will be using Microsoft Azure Cloud Computing Service to create my VM instance. You can use any cloud provider such as AWS, DigitalOcean, or even GCP. The concepts will be same. I have chosen a Ubuntu 20.04 LTS version as for my OS, and make sure to set the inbound rules as we have to open some ports in the server to communicate with the outer world. Here I allow both HTTP and HTTPS traffic. Other things seems to be fine. Let's create our instance. You can download the key file and store it in a secure place. Alright, this is gonna take maybe a minute or so on for the actual instance to deploy. So let's wait some moments for creating the instance. Then we'll continue with connecting to that server. Okay, our VM is ready. In the Azure dashboard, it's clearly shows the way to connect to the virtual machine. This is the way to connect it. So let's connect according to that. Need to go to the key file stored location and let's give the permission. It doesn't matter if you are on a Windows or a Mac machine, the command is to connect to the VM instance is going to be the same. So what you can do is to copy this and make sure to change the address and keep your name according to your VM instance. Say yes. Yes, we are in. This output means fully logged into the machine. You need to update the VM before anything else. To do that, you can use sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. Alright, let's configure the VM to deploy our application. Let's install Nginx first. So we can do that with the sudo apt get install nginx -yes. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is to make sure that Nginx is configured to run automatically when the server reboots. We can do that with the sudo system ctl enable nginx. Alright, and now to verify that it worked, you can run sudo system ctl status nginx. So it should be activated as well as enabled. Now if we visit our VM's public address, you can find it, the VM's IP from this command. I'll add those commands into the description as well. You can curl and find the IP address. If you paste this address in your browser, you will see this default Nginx welcome page. Alright, so now we need to configure Nginx server. We want to navigate to Nginx directory. It's in cd/etc/nginx/sites available directory. If you put ls, here you can see a default file. This is the config file that we are looking for. To make the changes first, let's create a copy of this file. I'll rename it as my server. So we can then sudo cp default my server to copy this, and you can edit this using Vim editor. I'll edit using that sudo vim my server. Here we can see bunch of configs that can help to deploy the application. You don't need to worry about these, as I created a separate config file for that. You can copy and paste it directly here. My config file is this. You can copy this. We need to delete all the lines. You can delete it by type %% and d to delete them all. Then you can paste that configs using Ctrl+Shift+V. Alright, then you have to change the settings according to your VM. This port 80, which is the default HTTP port, it's going to be listening. And then we have IPv6, it's going to do the same thing. Now like this root line is going to tell the Nginx server what HTML file should return to the client. We need to pass the React build folder location to this. Although we have not yet uploaded the files, we can create the folders according to this when we do the source code upload. Then server name, this is going to be the name of the domain of the application you want to host. If you have purchased a domain name, you can add it here. Currently I don't have one, so I'm going to use the VM public address here. Can copy that public address and change the server name. Then we have two location blocks. Anything for the root URL, it's going to try and serve the index file, and /API will handle the backend part. Okay, let's save this, escape, right, quit. Now we need to enable this site and restart the Nginx server to changes can take effect. Let's create a symbolic link using sudo ln command. Here's the command. Then you need to do sudo service nginx restart. Alright, let's check the status again. Sudo systemctl status nginx. Alright, we have successfully configured the Nginx. Now let's go back to the home directory. cd/home/home directory. Now let's install Node.js. In the official docs, the recommended way to install Node.js using binaries. These binary distributions are available in Node source GitHub page. If you go to Node source GitHub page, you can see the binaries. You need to select the version that is compatible with your application. You can check the local Node.js version by typing node-version. Version is 16.14. So I'm going to install the Node version 16. Just need to copy this line and then simple as this. Then we have to install a process manager. This is responsible for making sure our app is working properly. If the app crashes, this will automatically restart it for us, and it's also going to automatically start when the VM reboots. There are so many process managers out there like Forever, Strong PM, etc. But PM2 is the most famous and feature-rich process manager. We can easily install it using sudo npm install. Let's install that. You can install it sudo pm install. That's installed. Now we can use PM2. As you can see, PM2 is now installed. There is one special feature in PM2. It's PM2 cluster mode. As you all know, Node.js is single-threaded since it's built on top of the JavaScript V8 engine. So our app logic runs on one thread and hence doesn't fully utilize the available system resources. The limitation could be tackled by using the PM2 cluster module. It allows us to easily scale our Node applications to handle increased traffic loads without modifying the existing application code. Let's see it in action in the latter part of this video. Finally, we have to install the MongoDB. You can also use MongoDB Atlas as a cloud database, but I will install it locally as it's super easy. There are only 4 simple steps to install the MongoDB. I will add them in the description as well. So follow along with me. Those are the 4 commands. Then you need to start and enable the MongoDB process just like Nginx. To that you can use the systemctl command. Let's wait a bit. Still installing the MongoDB. Okay, let's start Mongo process and then enable. Also, you will have to give the permission to MongoDB socket. I'll give those things as well. Now you can restart the service, and finally you can verify whether it's installed successfully by using systemctl status. As you can see, it's active and enabled. Alright, now we have all the things prepared for deploying the application. Let's move our code to VM. I'm going to SSH copy the files to VM as it's really simple. Anyway, you can use a third-party tool like FileZilla. I am creating a separate folder before moving files to VM. I'll name it as my notes app. As you can remember in the Nginx configurations, we give the path according to that, so you should create the folders according to that. You have to create another apps folder. You create that as well, apps, my notes app, and then we can copy our code into there. Make sure to remove all the node modules, as it will save our time as well as the data. And also in the client folder, we don't need those codes anymore, as we need only the build folder, so you can directly delete them. Alright, let's SSH copy this folder into VM. I'll open up a new terminal, then took the command for SSH copy is this. You need to change the key file name according to your server. And the folder name, apps, and make it recursively, and then the domain name of the VM, public IP address without the HTTP part, then press enter. Alright, now you can see our code is copied into the VM. Also in AWS EC2 there will be home/Ubuntu instead of Azure user, so make sure your paths are correct and according to that Nginx configurations as well. Okay, now the codes have been copied to the VM. We can see it, sing ls. Yeah, we can see the apps folder, cd my notes app. Yes. Let's head on to the server folder. We need to install the node packages there. Just run npm install. As you remember, we installed a process manager. Now we are going to use that. All you have to do is to type pm2 start, and then you need to provide the path to the server.js file, which is what we need to run to start our backend. So we can run the app using pm2 start app.js. Alright, we can see our app is now online. But as you already know, pm2 has a cluster mode. Let's use that here. Make sure to stop this instance by using pm2 stop 0 as the id to the process, and we can enable the cluster mode by adding a -i parameter, -i, and then we can specify the number of processes, but I'm going to pass it as max for getting the maximum available cores. Okay, I think I have to give the sudo permission as I have installed with sudo. Make sure you install without sudo the pm2 package, unless it will be a security vulnerability. Like you shouldn't allow to use sudo permission to deploy the applications. Anyway, I'll stop this. And let's run it sudo to test it. Sudo pm2 start. As you can see, it's running in cluster mode, but as you can see, the root is root, user is root. So this is not a good practice as a security vulnerability. When you install in the pm2, do not install as sudo. I'll stop these instances just for now. Sudo let's run back that single instance without sudo pm2 start .js. Alright, then we need to set up the pm2 to run on startup. For that, run pm2 startup. Then you need to copy and paste this command, and you also need to save the pm2 save. Alright, and so that's all you need to do to get your backend started. And also we completed all the things. Let's head on to our VM's public address and to see the results. Yeah, congratulations, we have now successfully deployed a full stack application. Let's test this. Yeah, it's working fine. That's all, guys. I do want you guys to keep in mind that there are obviously a lot more things that we can do when it comes to preparing the virtual machine. We should concern more about security aspects, security vulnerabilities that can happen. We need to protect the database from those attacks. I just wanted to cover the basics of how to deploy it with best practices. I hope this will be a good starting point to you guys to deploy your app as well. Anyway, I'm more than happy to do a few other videos for improving the security like SSL configurations, database security, etc. Just leave a comment and let me know the topics that you need to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment sections. All suggestions and feedbacks are highly welcome. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all in a new video.